Hi everyone. Now we are going to discuss about the topic of matter waves in atoms. You know already known well, in an atom electrons are the only moving particles. Then you have to say the title as matter waves due to electrons in atoms. In following that we have to discuss about wave particle duality in nature. So you just see the diagrams given below. It's the constructive abstract of what are the topics we are going to discuss by today. So you already known well the wave-like properties of matter were subsequently confirmed by the observation of electron interference when it is scattered by crystals. So this one is what we seen from Davison's and Germer's experiment, which proves the wave nature of electrons. So we already known well in an atom, as per Bohr's atom model, electrons are revolving around the nucleus. So in a fixed orbit, electrons can exist only in locations where they are expecting with interference constructively. So when an electron is bound to an atom, its wavelength must fit into a small space, something like a standing wave on a string. So you just notice that whenever you think about the case of if an electron in the first orbit, then how it creates a wave nature. So as per the particle nature, what you are saying is a moving, we just consider as a particle nature, we can say that electron is a particle start moving in a circular orbit. So it is not an issue to define an electron in the orbit regarding particle nature. Whereas if you want to go for a wave nature, how to mention that, then electrons in the first orbit have go for wave. You just notice that you just compare with a standing wave which is created on a string. If you just think about under this left graph, we can see that the total wavelength of it represents the total wavelength of an electron in the first orbit. So it's starting from 0, it's going to the maximum amplitude and then come back to 0 and then negative amplitude and come back to the rest position again. So an electron must cross the equilibrium position 3 times within the first orbit. So how it is possible? You just imagine how we are getting a standing wave in the common string mode operation. So you say a fundamental operation is known that. So from here a particle will start moving to the highest amplitude, positive amplitude, and then get back to equilibrium state, and again in the reverse it go into negative amplitude and come back to its original position. So the same case what we are expecting from the electron in the first orbit, it just go to higher amplitude as like a wave and reaching the equilibrium position, and then again the reverse. So by means that an electron in the first orbit itself have the chance of existence of a wave nature. And then what about the wavelength? So you already known well the whatsoever the amplitude of the wave, you know well it is couldn't cross n2. So electron couldn't jump to n2 when it is in a wave motion. So with the wave motion is confined within this origin, by means that the total length travelled by the electron will be given by 2 pi r. So 2 pi r represents circumference of the circular orbit. So the total wavelength lambda 1, which represents the wavelength of electron in the first orbit, will be equal to 2 pi into r1. So it will be equal to 6.28 times of a0. So a0 representing the Bohr radius. So where if you just consider an electron in the second orbit, so an electron in the second orbit had to go for 2 times of its oscillation. So whereas n equal to 1 represents the first orbit, it will go for only 1 oscillation. If you are going with electron in the second orbit, have to go 2 oscillations till end of the circumference. So we say 2 lambda by 2 lambda 2 will be equal to 2 pi r2. So now you notice here how we getting a mode of operation with the string. The same thing is happening. So you just find in an orbit here. So we have an electron starting with the equilibrium position and going to the maximum amplitude and come back to equilibrium and then the reverse. Likewise the second wave. So by means that the electron in the second orbit have to go 2 times of oscillation within its orbit. So that's why 2 lambda 2 is equal to 2 pi r2. So r2 represents radius of the second orbit. Likewise, if we consider the third orbit, it will be repeated. So we are expecting 3 times of 3 oscillations till the circumference of the orbit, third orbit. So we have the concept of, so the waves will be moving like this only. So from this case you can confirm that it is noticed that electrons may have the wave nature within its orbit itself. So you already known well, the allowed orbits are those orbits which is in electrons have constructively interfere with itself. So not all orbits produce constructive interference. So thus only certain orbits are allowed. So the orbits are to be quantized. So you just think about the case, the electron waves for the first 3 Bohr orbits are visualized here. So you just notice we couldn't represent any more excess waves in orbit n1 because it have a maximum, single maximum amplitude and single minimum amplitude. So there is no more issues regarding representing wave in the first orbit. Whereas if you go for the second orbit, you just notice that it have to go for 2 oscillations. So we have chance of 2 dimensions, either horizontal or vertical. So we have options. So you just find if a electron in this position will go to higher amplitude and then get back to lower amplitude is the first wave, and then again the second part in second wave here. So by means that if you go for the third oscillation, so we have different options. So in electron from this position, this position will go to higher amplitude and then get back to lower amplitude. So by means that it have chance of 3 oscillations throughout its orbit. So from these theories it was confirmed that, or Bohr confirmed that there is a possibilities of wave nature in the electron, and then we just find the electron's wavelength fit neatly into the circumference, so that the wave crest always align with crest and wave trough is aligned towards the trough as shown in figure. So now you just notice that if we are defined with allowed orbit, we are expecting constructive interference. Just find the general formula regarding what about the wavelength of the electron in an orbit with respect to its circumference, because we already defined with the radius. Then it will be equal to n times of lambda 1. N represent the number of the orbit is an integer. We already told that in physics integer plays a major role. So here integer n represents 1, 2, 3 like that. N represent the number of the orbit. So n into lambda will be equal to 2 pi times of Rn. So now you say the case, if an electron in the fixed orbit, then it just expecting the particle nature. Whereas if you want to refine with the wave nature of electron in the orbit, so you have to define like this. So you just known well, the total wavelength or total distance travelled by the wave of electron will be equal to the circumference of the particular orbit. So this is the most importance of defining how the Bohr defined with orbits are fixed. If suppose we have a chance of the term 2 pi r is not matching with n lambda, so what is going to happen? So you already known well, if there is a change in length of the waves are there, then what is going to happen of, there is no chance of that electrons will be merging together to make a form again. So by means that we are going with destructive interference. So in allowed orbit we are expecting the constructive interference, by means that whenever the wave is electrons are keep moving on the orbit, it resembles the same pattern of waves. Whereas if you go for the condition of if 2 pi r, the total wavelength of the electron in an orbit is not matching with its circumference, and then we can definitely expect it's a destructive interference. Okay. So more precisely it was inferred that an integral multiple of electron's wavelength equals the circumference of the orbit, then only we can get constructive interference patterns. So we already known well, if we are defining with a particle nature of electron, then you have to think about the case of what about the angular momentum. So you just find a case, the term, a gentle explanation regarding angular momentum L will be equal to mv into r for a circular orbit. So we obtain the quantization of angular momentum as per the conditions for allowed orbits. We already known well, if an electron is moving in an orbit as a wave, then you know it consists of matter waves. The wavelength of matter waves will be equal to h by p, or it is h by mv. So this one is a de Broglie's derivation. So we are just trying to utilize it for the analysis of the angular momentum of the electrons in the orbit, and to confirm why we are going to fix the position of the orbit, or how we say it is allowed orbits alone. Is orbits are allowed in a particular manner by Bohr. So you just find lambda is equal to h by mev. We are representing me represents mass of electron. So you already known when this formula n lambda n will be equal to 2 pi rn. So instead of lambda, I just substitute the term what we got here. So h by mev equal to 2 pi rn. Okay, right? So now we just know the word L is the angular momentum will be equal to mvr. If I rewrite this equation for an electron, so it is me represents mass of electron, v is the velocity, and r is the radius of the orbit. So if I replace the term mvr, me into v equal to nh by 2 pi rn, as we got this equation from here on this position, by means that I will get the final term like this. So now we just eliminate the term rn on both numerator and denominator, by means that I can get the final solution of the angular momentum of an electron in a particular orbit will be equal to nh by 2 pi. Otherwise you can say it is h by 2 pi as h cross. So you notice that the angular momentum of the electron in an orbit is fixed. So by means we say the angular momentum of the electron in an orbit is quantized with respect to the level of the orbit. So only because of this reason Bohr has been designed to hypothesize that the rule of allowed orbit as stated above. So as per the conditions what we got from the mathematical derivation, so it was confirmed that electrons are revolving around the nucleus but in the allowed orbit. So these researchers realized that the condition of constructive inference of an electron in a circular orbit. So for your convenience, so there is a condition for constructive interference of electron for the third and fourth orbits are given here. You just noted the brown dotted line is a circular orbit for reference, whereas the electrons will move as a wave like this. So it creates 3 oscillations within this orbit, whereas the total length of the total wavelength of a total length of oscillations of a wave in a wave of electron within the third orbit will not cross equal to 2 pi times of r3. Okay, so likewise if it is go with 4, the pattern will be like this. Okay. So this one is regarding how matter waves are available in atoms due to electrons. Otherwise you say how the electrons will move as a wave inside the atoms. Now we are going with the second topic of today's class. It is wave particle duality. So we already known well by de Broglie. It was informed that, or it is hypothesized that all objects have both particle and wave aspects. The different aspects of according to the type of process it undergoes. So this is known as principle of wave duality. So what it mentioned that if the experiment is considered with wave nature regarding any phenomena, you have to define with either wave nature of the particles or particle nature of the particles. So this one to be named as the principle of wave duality. Actually in 1803 Thomas Young demonstrated a concept of light beam is passed through 2 narrow slits. The waves coming out of these slits interfered with one another, by means it produced interference patterns in a photographic plane. It is happened in 18th century, but by end of the 19th century or starting up to 20th century, so we have the concept of quantum mechanics came to the picture. So by means that people utilize this experiment to prove both wave and particle nature of light photons. So this experiment simplifies the wave and particle nature of the light. So you already known well, suppose a light is sent to a spoon to a double slit. You just think about the case, the light waves are allowed to pass through the double slit. So you know distance between the two slits will be d, and L is the length, or sometimes you can mention it as d also, and y is the displacement from the origin of from center of this one, y is the displacement, and theta is the angle. So these things are very common regarding the Young's double slit experiment on providing the concept of wave nature of the particles. So in this explanation of wave and particle nature of light, so the condition is taken like this. On the initial, in the Young's double slit experiment, only slit 1 is open, and we just recorded the photographic plate, exposure of light over the photographic plate in the first case. Or during the second case, slit 1 is closed, only slit 2 is open, and we just analyzed the condition of exposure on photographic plate. And on the third one, on the third condition, both the slits are open to expose with the photographic plate to find out the interference pattern with respect to the exposure time. So these are the three conditions, three steps involved on analyzing of wave and particle nature of the light using up Young's double slit experiment. So now you notice what are the conditions, what is the result we got. You just find this diagram. When slit 1 is open, so your exposure level or intensity of exposure will be like this, I1 representing intensity of limit of exposure. So you just find the graph shows that just opposite to slit 1 you have maximum exposure and then start decreasing diagonally. Likewise in the second case, in the second condition, only slit 2 is open, by means that we got an exposure like this. So we have a photographic exposure like this, by means slit 2, opposite to slit 2 there is a maximum intensity of exposure, then it start decreasing on both sides diagonally. If suppose when both slit 1 and 2 is open for the condition, that for the third condition, after a certain time of exposure you just notice that we are getting off interference patterns with maximum and minimum intensity. Okay, so the condition for constructive interference patterns by means of bright bands in the photographic plate, we have a phase of like this 2d d sin theta equal to m lambda, where m represent 1 2 3 like that. Okay, right, it both positive and negative side, there is no issues. Whereas why we are getting dark bands, so it is because of the condition of d sin theta equal to m plus 1 by 2 into lambda. So this is known well. So these dark, bright and dark patterns are called as interference fringes. The spacing between the successive bright and dark fringes will be equal to lambda L times of divided by d. So you just notice that when slit 1 and 2 is open, we just notice that we are getting off interference pattern. So the reason why, it's because of when the slit is opened with, so the waves coming out from slit 1 and slit 2 will be interfered each other. Because of the phase shift between the two waves, we are getting off bright and dark patterns. So these conditions or this experiment proves wave nature of the light. So we already known well. Okay, right. So now we go for the second option on explaining how we prove the particle nature of the light photon. So we already informed that we are just going with recording in a photographic plate for the first case, then we can call interference pattern. But now we have to think about that instead of a photographic plate, a photo detector is kept here. So what is the difference while you keep photo detector? You just notice that the photo detector is simply receives the intensity of light and just plot the graph, whereas photographic plate shows the interference patterns because of continual exposure of slit 1 and slit 2. Okay, right. So when a photo detector is used instead of a photographic plate, then there is a chance of probability distribution of photons were achieved like this. So it was noticed that the resultant of the wave what we got, a resultant of intensity what we got from the photo detector while we opened both slit 1 is like this. slit 2 is alone will be like this. So they are same like a normal photographic method, whereas if it is opened with both slit 1 and slit 2, your output pattern will be like this, which means that the intensity of slit 1, intensity of light coming out from the slit 1 is merged with slit 2. So it is equal to P12 is the total probability function of the intensity what we received while we are keeping a photodetector will be equal to P1 plus P2. So this condition represents the particle nature of the photon. Okay, you just simply notice we have one function of intensity of light with respect to the position of S1, and here we have one more position. So once you open with both, you just notice that we are getting the resultant like this. So it simply represents both slits are merged together, so it represents the particle nature of the photons. Whereas if you are going with the photographic plate, it is not, I3 is not at all equal to I1 plus I2. So it represents an interference pattern. It's because of wave nature, whereas while you are using a photodetector, we got the simple merging of slit 1 and slit 2. It simply represents a particle nature of the photon. So the above experiments clearly demonstrate the dual nature of photon. So an interesting observation is that we have the interference in the absence of observer and no interference pattern when observers are present. So what is the condition? It is nothing else. Once you want to go for Young's double slit experiment, so what we are doing is we just simply keep the photographic plate at the end as a screen, and then we just close the chamber. We are just allowing light on towards the slit 1, that's all. So there is no more mediator, there is no more observer, is keep on monitoring what is happening inside. It is not at all possible. So it is a totally evacuated, or you say a totally covered system, by means that we couldn't understand what is happening inside. So that is when they say there is no observer. So because of continual exposure of the light passing through the slit 1 and 2, we achieved with an interference pattern without any more observation. Observers are available in between slit to the screen or a photographic plate. Whereas if you go for the second condition, we have slit 1 and slit 2, and then we have photodetector. So the photodetector simply shows, it's like a light dependent resistor. We are just measuring intensity with respect to the voltage drop in the electronic circuit. So we can monitor, or we just keep on taking reading with respect to the distance from the position of, you just take a reference point here. I am saying an example from this end to this end, starting point to ending point. We just keep on analyzing what about the intensity. So here we have continual observation is to be going on to take the reading. So by means that with an condition of observer, we couldn't expect any more interference pattern. So we can say particle cannot behave as a particle and a wave simultaneously. So from this experiment, it was proved that whenever you want to discuss about particle nature, when you want to solve any physical phenomena, if you take the condition of particle nature, means you have to explain particle nature alone. Otherwise we can explain the phenomena by wave nature, means you should use the wave nature concepts alone. Then there is no chance of, for certain part of explanation we are using of particle nature, and certain part we have to use wave nature. It is not at all possible. So if an experiment is performed for a particle character, then particle property is observed. Similarly, if an experiment looks to observe wave nature, then wave property is realized. These are the importance of wave particle duality. And to explain the wave particle duality, Bohr assumed that we are able to measure a wave property of light or particle property of light, but not both simultaneously. So this phenomena or this principle is called as complementarity principle of light. So complementarity principle in physics is used to complete knowledge of phenomena on atomic dimensions, which requires a description of both wave and particle properties. So this principle was given by the Danish physicist Niels Bohr in the year of 1928. So depending on the experimental arrangement, the behavior of such phenomena as light and electrons is sometimes wave-like or sometimes particle-like, such that such things have a wave particle duality. So it is impossible to observe both the wave and particle aspects simultaneously. So in effect, so the complementarity principle implies that phenomena on the atomic and subatomic scale are not strictly like large scale particles or waves like billiards balls and water waves. So knowledge of a small scale phenomena is essentially incomplete until both particle nature and light aspects are known to the system. So this is the basics behind complementarity principle of light. So in depth, if you want to go, we can say that in physics complementarity is based on theoretical and an experimental result of quantum mechanics, which is also referred as principle of complementarity. So which is formulated by Niels Bohr, which is who is a leading founder of quantum mechanics. So complementary principle holds that objects have certain pairs of complementary properties which cannot be measured or calculated or observed simultaneously. We just find certain examples regarding complementary pairs. The first one is very important because it creates a new rule. We say about Eisen's uncertainty principle. So we couldn't exactly measure position and momentum of a particle in motion. So that is called as Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. So we couldn't exactly measure position and momentum of particles. Likewise, because position representing the is about rest position, otherwise we say about moving position, whereas momentum is an object in a rotation like that. So we couldn't measure exactly position and momentum of particles because it is in wave motion also. Likewise, energy and duration, spin on different axes, waves and particle related properties, and value of a field and its change. Likewise, entanglement and covariance. So these are certain pairs of complementary properties which could not be measured exact by means of we are using of either wave nature alone or particle nature alone. We couldn't get it, the result we couldn't merging of the simultaneous observation of both particle and wave nature. So I think you understand the topic where we can meet you with next topic. Thank you.